Hey everybody, Syntax77 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hammock Gear integrated bug net hammock. This is a roughly 17, I think it's actually 17.85 ounce hammock. It's made out of Hexon 1.6 material, and it does have a fully integrated zippered bug net. We'll get into all that in a second. I already got my suspension up here. Now, when you get this hammock from Hammock Gear, there are options for suspension, or if you're like me and you already have a bunch of suspensions laying around because you're already a hammock addict, then you can just skip that and use whatever suspension system you want. I've got handfuls of them. Today I chose the Dutchware beetle buckle system because I already had it. I already got the straps up on the trees here, and we're going to set this up. I'm probably about the minimum length between trees possible, but I think we're going to make it work. So first things first, let's take it out of the sack, and it is an integrated stuff sack. Hammock Gear has been a favorite of mine over the years. I started out with them for my hammock quilts, both top and bottom quilts. My wife and I both have, I think, a total of 7, 4 under quilts and 3 top quilts. And then they also make my favorite tarp for hammock camping, the Dyneema Cuban fiber, as it used to be called, Hex tarp. That has served me quite well over the years, but pretty exciting. They just rolled out recently their own line of hammocks. They do have one without a bug net as well, but today we're going to be checking out the integrated bug net version. So, first things first, speaking of integrated, like I said, it is in its own stuff sack that is sewn onto it, which becomes kind of a gear bag when it's set up. So I'm just going to pull it out. I got the continuous am steel loop on there that does come with it, and it has a ridge line on there as well. So I'm just going to hook up to my suspension and start pulling it out. There we go. I think that's good. I do like this beetle buckle suspension system. Now the hammock itself, like I said, is a hair under 18 ounces. And then when you throw in suspension, of course, you're going to add a little weight for that. So I would say if you go with whoopee hooks, you could probably be at a minimum of maybe 3 ounces for that suspension system, along with some Kevlar straps. In my case, these are 15-foot beetle buckles, so they're running around 6 ounces for the pair, in addition to the 17.85 ounces for the hammock. Or you could go shorter with a 8-foot strap. That'd probably be around 4 ounces. There's all kinds of options out there, but that's what I got right now. First thing you can see here is the stuff sack that it came out of, which now I can use to put gear in that I want accessible throughout the night. Of course, I could also hang a stuff sack from the ridgeline here as well, which, like I said, comes with it, and that is important to have installed because it keeps the bug net out of your face, and according to Hammock Gear, prevents tearing the bug net. So structurally, you always want to have the ridgeline in there. Ridgeline's nice anyway because it is the perfect length for this hammock to get a 30-degree hang. It kind of helps you achieve that. Speaking of length, this is an 11-foot hammock, which is a pro for me. I think, for me personally, I like 11 foot. Some people like 10 foot. I would say, personally, 10 foot's about my minimum. A lot of the commercial hammocks out there, for whatever reason, 9 foot seems to be popular. I don't know if they're just trying to save material or what, but that's a little short for me to get a diagonal lay. This is 11 foot, so getting a diagonal lay, in my experience with 11-foot hammocks, shouldn't be an issue. By the way, I got my friend Denali over here just making sure there aren't too many sticks around, so he's going to be helping out with the video today. Speaking of diagonal lay, I should also point out this is a symmetrical hammock system as opposed to the kind of more common asymmetrical hammock system. Seems to be that we're starting to get towards these symmetrical systems, and what that means is with the asymmetrical system, when you lay on that angle, you have to pick if you want to have your feet left or right, because the bug net, at least in those systems, has to match the hammock so that it actually gets a proper lay. If you don't have a bug net, your hammock is fine. You can lay either way you want. But what they've done with this is they've cut the mesh no-seam bug net in a way that makes it loose enough to lay on any angle you want, so you don't have to worry about that, but yet it still stays out of your face very well, which is nice. So I'm going to zipper it open now. It does have dual zippers on both sides, so that when you're in there, you can position those zippers anywhere you want so they're quick and easy to get to throughout the night, or for reaching out and adjusting your underquilt. So we'll zip that open, and I can flip that back. It zips all the way down to the end, so it opens nice and wide. And now I can hop in on my narrowly selected trees, but we seem to be good. And now I'm lounging, I'm chilling out, right? Nolly's getting jealous right now. The hammock fabric, like I said, is a Hexon 1.6. I am familiar with Hexon. That is from Dutchware Gear. I have a Dutchware half-wet hammock, which is my favorite minimalist hammock, and that is in a Hexon 1.0. I find it quite comfortable, but I have also a chameleon hammock in 1.6. It's a little heavier, but may just be in my head. But in my experience, I feel like the 1.6, even though it's a little heavier, actually is a little sturdier, has a little less stretch, so it feels a little more supportive. Both are nice in my opinion. Both are soft, but the 1.6 is going to be a little more resilient, especially if you have a dog. I don't recommend it, but some of us, like me, might have a wife that occasionally has the dog jump up in the hammock with her, and at least I'm going to be a little less worried about it tearing, although I wouldn't officially recommend dog nails in any lightweight hammock system like this. No. See, there's a great example. Down. I'm pretty comfy right now. My ridgeline maybe could be a little tighter, but I think we're pretty good right now. Normally, if I was camping, I wouldn't have the bug net open quite that wide. I'd probably keep it down here. You can still get in and out with it down a little lower. And I should mention, this really is just kind of a first look video at this. I was excited to, share it and give some first impressions and go over the specs and details and whatnot. I will be planning a fall, maybe even winter trip, but I'm definitely going to take this out on one of my trip videos and we'll see it really in action for an overnight. But today we're just kind of playing around and checking it out. So I'll just zip myself in, and you probably can't see me much anymore, but there I am. So I got my feet over here. You can see them moving around. Oh yeah, that's comfy. Plenty of room in this thing because of the 11 foot. Now, like I said, I could probably dial in this hang angle a little better. Those of you hammock aficionados may notice that, but we're pretty good. We're definitely within the margin of safety. And I can switch positions if I want. No big deal. That bug net is gonna kind of work with me there. And I'm good. Now I'm laying the other way with my feet down here. So feels pretty good and comfy. Now, let's say that I don't want the bug net around. Maybe the bugs aren't out, it's a little cooler, whatever the situation may be. Well, the bug net does have a little stuff sack integrated into the hammock, and you can stuff it right into itself. So let's check that out as I slip my boots back on here. So all I got to do to get that going is unzip it all the way around on the one end. It zips right around. And like I said, there are zippers on both sides. So a total of 4 zippers. So I got 3 over here on this side now. 1 on that side. Just keep on zipping down until I'm at the end. Now that the bug net is separated, I got it all over here on this side of the hammock. I'm just going to stuff it into the integrated stuff sack, which is right here. It's made out of the no-seam mesh as well, which is nice and light. So there's some weight savings there. Now I got myself no bug net. And this would be great at camp, while you're just hanging with your friends or your dog, and you don't want that bug net flopping around in your face because you're just hanging at camp. Here I am. Pretty nice. There is also another pocket at the other end that you could use to put any gear that you want to have accessible while in the hammock, but kind of out of the way. So that's nice. And then, of course, if I didn't have the bug net in that stuff sack, if I had it fully deployed, then I could still use that stuff sack on that end to put even more gear. So you have basically 2 gear loft kind of opportunities at each end of this hammock. You also notice that it is nicely sewn up here. So it has this kind of cover that comes over here, makes it real nice and keeps the ridgeline running right through there to the Amsteel loops. Also want to point out, now that I'm outside here, it does have these sewn in on the outside hooks here, and you can use that to secure your underquilt. So I find a lot of times if you dial in your underquilt correctly, it doesn't really shift too much anyway, at least with hammock gear, underquilts particularly. but it definitely does make it even easier to keep it in place and dialed in if you just use those little clips. And on your underquilt, it has a little shock cord running along it, right? You can just clip right onto it and it holds it in place. So we got 2 of those clips on each side. And then inside, for those of you that want to get creative, there are 4 internal grosgrain loops here that you could use to secure any other setups that you may have depending on your setup needs. So that is nice. But even though this is a first look at this and I haven't slept in it on an actual overnight trip yet, I am very familiar with this fabric. So it really just comes down to the design. I know the fabric is very comfortable, at least for me personally. I can say so far looking at this, the design is good. I like the fact that I can get that bug net all the way out of the way for just chilling during the day, and then at night I can zip it down. Now, it is not fully removable, that bug net. It is sewn in at the one end, which is good. You're never going to lose it, but just want to point that out. If you totally don't want a bug net at all, probably just go with the netless version they have. But this one, stuff's right down there to the end, and that no-see-um, I don't know how many ounces that's really adding, but it's probably not terribly crucial. Probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 ounces, just as a guess, out of that total weight. Nothing terrible. And yeah, now I'm lounging again. Pretty nice. The weight limit, I should mention on this, is listed as 350 pounds, so that's some pretty good leeway. And for me, leaves me plenty of extra space. Could probably get my wife in here with me, well, sitting at least. I don't think the 2 of us could sleep in it at once, but hey, you never know. The price on it, honestly, for an integrated system is pretty sweet. It's like 115 bucks right now. Prices do change, but I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you'll find hammocks out there, I've reviewed them on this very channel, that are 100 bucks for a netless version. So to get the integrated bug net and more than just basically a blank hammock body, but something that actually has these nice sewn ends, the integrated hooks and grosgrain loops, just overall the design does look great, but I wasn't really surprised by that because I've been buying Hammock Gear products over the years and they've always really impressed me. On the channels here at the end, which is where your continuous loop goes through, those are quadruple sewn, so I'm not worrying about those failing at all. I've got hammocks that I believe are less than quadruple sewn, probably double sewn, and they hold up just fine. So that is super nice and sturdy. And like I said, there is a variety of options. Actually, looking at their website, they make it pretty easy. You can add on a suspension system of your choice. Either 6-inch tree straps, 10-inch tree straps, 9-foot daisy chain, and then a variety of different colors for your amp steel loops, so you can get fancy with that. Speaking of which, hammocks so far, it looks like the body color, this is a gray one, charcoal gray. Looks like there's also a black option as well, so your choice. And I would imagine, knowing Hammock Gear, they may, depending on the success of this, and I imagine it will be successful, they may roll out some other colors in the future, but that's just my speculation. That's not coming from them. I should also point out, I'm not using them here, but when you buy one of these, it does come with some pair of carabiners as well, so one for each loop. So if you have a different type of hammock system, like maybe a webbing system like I mentioned on there, or I have like some Python straps that I've shown, I haven't used them in a while, but they have basically a series of loops. You can just hook the carabiner right to it, or there's various systems where that works. In my case, because I'm using the beetle buckles, I just go right from the loop to the beetle buckle. But keep in mind, it does come with some carabiners as well, and then you can add other suspension options if you don't already have one. Suspensions in general, anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks depending on what kind you get. I haven't checked the price options for Hammock Gear, but generally that's what it is. It's not, you don't have to break the bank on that. Oh man, I'm gonna fall asleep if I keep sitting here. So I'm probably gonna break this down. It packs down real easy right into that stuff sack. I find usually just disconnect one end of the suspension and then go to the integrated stuff sack, start from the middle, and it'll stuff down right into itself. Super easy and quick. I am enjoying this so far for lounging and whatnot, but stay tuned. In the future, I will be taking this out on a trip. I'm really excited to do that. There you go, the Hammock Gear Zippered Bug Net Hammock. I'm digging it. Till next time, I'm Syntax77, and you have fun out there.